Hello everybody, we have a fun and magical project planned for today. Imagine there's a fantasy land where all of the Disney princesses lived together, and one day they decided to create a princess headquarters featuring one part of each castle. How would they do that? And what parts would they use? Our challenge is to fit together an element from each of the official Disney princess castles into one coherent build. I'm Jade the Willow, and let's start with the base for our castle. For this list, I went to the official website, and I'll list them all on screen. According to my research, Anna and Elsa aren't part of the official Disney princess lineup because Frozen is its own franchise. However, I'm still including them because they had such a big impact. So I know they're not official princesses, but I'm including them because I want to and I think it will be fun. This in the corner is my very rough draft of how I'm planning on laying things out. But I did end up changing a few things. You'll just have to keep watching the video to find out what and how. So I really wanted to build this in chronological order. However, when I was laying everything out and choosing parts of each castle, I just found it wasn't going to work out. Not with the way that I had pieced everything together. I thought the project would be more exciting if it had an interesting base to work on, rather than just super flat. So for our first princess, we're doing Raya from Raya and the Last Dragon. We're using the giant rock arch that the castle sits on for our location. It's very magical looking, and if you Google castles from the movie, you see a lot more pictures of the arch rather than the actual castle that sits on the arch. I haven't built terrain that was this big with just World Edit in a while, so it was a little bit of an adventure for me, but I got there eventually. That being said, I am using World Edit for this project. It'll be so much easier. This project is just for fun, to be silly and creative. When I can't find a good color match, I'll probably choose to go with the more vibrant option, since Disney is generally very colorful. Moving on to our first actual building part, the main base of our castle is going to be the Emperor's Palace from Mulan. It was really important to me that I didn't take the same type of structure, like a tower, from each castle. And since the Emperor's Palace had a relatively simpler roofline, I thought it would be a good base to build on. Now that I was officially building my first building, I had to focus on being a little bit more exact. Though I feel like that kinda got tossed out the window a bit, considering the pictures I took of the castle from the movie didn't even seem to be the same building. Guys, I tried, but when the source material seems to conflict, there's not much that I can do. So other than that, I had a blast. This part was easy enough to work on because of all the repeating structural elements, and the finished product was kind of like a cute mini version of the castle. I skimmed through the movie for pictures of the castle for Cinderella, which is our next princess, and I'm using an image from the first time you see it. We're building the entryway that has a checkered pattern on it. I thought it was fun and would be more interesting to build, because most of the other castle is just white. And this is the first test to see how two different castles go together. Will it be a complete disaster? I did not know when I started, but it turned out so much better than I thought. It actually doesn't look bad, I don't think, all things considered, though I'm definitely starting to feel the strain of trying to match a picture with Minecraft without making the scale too overwhelmingly ginormous for me, but I am taking a few creative liberties. Snow White, as anticipated, only took me a few minutes. I chose the castle from the beginning as opposed to the end cloud version, but both castles have a tower in roughly the same place that has this middle side tower coming out of it, so I thought that would suit our needs well. I also kept it simple because that's how it was drawn. So while it might be a bit boring now, I have a feeling that as we continue to add in more colors and shapes and styles, one simple tower won't be an issue. Continuing in somewhat chronological order, next we have Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Now we have two castles for this, both of which are significant to the story and are recognizable. I was debating back and forth on which castle to include, and I just could not make up my mind. So I decided to do both. Ariel is our only princess mermaid, so I thought it would be really neat to include the underwater castle in the build. I wanted to pull from those long, archy things that I thought were water slides when I was younger, but also Ariel wants nothing more than to be a human and experience new things. And personally, Eric's castle might be my favorite Disney princess castle. I don't know why. I don't think it's the prettiest, but it just calls to my heart. Maybe it's because that's where I'd want to live. I just don't know. Do you guys have a favorite castle, and is it different than the castle you would like to live in? Let me know in the comments because I'm very curious. For the land castle, which is what we're doing first, we're not adding anything too crazy, just the rock arch part that sticks off from the main towers. I'm not even putting the tower that goes on it on top of that because Sleeping Beauty will go there. Which is next. I thought about a lot of different parts I could pull from her castle. Originally, I thought maybe the walled base, but I decided a tower because I thought I could put it on top of Ariel's arches to connect things together. And with this castle, we're now all caught up chronologically with the first 4 princesses anyway, though we won't stay chronological for long. Aurora's castle tower had a lot more details on it than Snow White's, which was very exciting, and I was honestly relieved because Snow White's it's just a little painful, honestly. I used the tower that she was asleep in under the spell. My big regret here is that I would have liked to make it a little bit bigger so I could get more of the detail in at a decent scale, but alas, you know how it goes. So other than knowing all the little parts aren't perfect, I really like it. It was fun and it was different than anything else I'd done so far. Many of the castles only have far away shots, and so the picture I'm working off is blurry, and this is also the case for Beauty and the Beast. For Belle, I'm taking this round part that I think is the ballroom of the castle. Doing the best I could, I decided to go with a sandstone base for the castle walls. The movie definitely shows the castle as more cream than white, and I thought it would tie in with the sandstone for Jasmine's castle, which will be coming eventually. One thing I tried to keep in mind as I built was not to only match the colors to the original movie source material, but also to match it to the other castle parts in my build, which I did by trying to repeat as many blocks as I could. For example, I might not have used the red blocks for Aurora's castle tower, but since I had used red for Mulan's and Snow White's, I thought it would tie everything together. With Belle's castle, it feels like its own thing for now, but it'll tie in better later. I wasn't sure what was going on with the spokes along the top of the roof in the picture. The picture is it's too far away, but I thought since we see gargoyles and angels on the castle during other parts of the movie, I'd put those on top. If you squint, you might be able to see the vague angel shape that I tried to do. Next we have Anna. I know Anna isn't an official Disney princess because she has her own franchise, but Anna and Elsa have such a big princess impact I wanted to include them. We're building the outer courtyard from the famously closed and open gates in the movie. Color matching for this one was a little hectic, but I think we got better by the end. I've noticed that since I'm only taking parts of castles, a lot of the time I only need to build half of the build, and then the rest I can just copy and paste, which saves me a lot of time. The corner towers were weird, and I'm not sure what was really happening with them. I did figure it out later when I went back and looked at it from a different angle in the movie. So I fixed them, and for now they're just a little odd, but it is what it is. I promise I fixed it later. If you're having as much fun watching this video as I had making it, consider giving it a like and subscribing. I had fun building and trying to figure out how to do all of the wall portions of the build. There were lots of little details on this one, and I just kept adjusting and fiddling with things until they got as close as they were going to. I had to get a little creative with the half-timbered gatehouse and the wooden posts, but I'm happy with how it turned out. I wanted to do the inside of the wall as well. It was a repeating pattern, so it was pretty easy to add in, and it just felt too finished and frankly a little unpleasant to look at before I had done that. And next we have Pocahontas, who doesn't have a castle, so I thought I could either go with the rock that she jumps off or Grandmother Willow. But since we're already doing the arch from Raya, I thought the jutted out rock diving board might not show up as well, so we're putting Grandmother Willow in the center of the courtyard in place of the fountain from Frozen. Grandmother Willow's branches are colored with blues and greens, maybe largely because the shadowy nature of the willow trees, so I used mangrove leaves because they're green and they have that droopy look, and spruce because of the bluish green colored color, and I thought it'd be a good contrast and help with the shadowy field. And then I also added in cyan stained glass panes to help with some of the blue and the narrower branches. Grandmother Willow does block the Cinderella entrance a little bit, but not too much. And guys, this is the first willow tree I've built as Jade the Willow, and let's just say I want to try it again. I don't feel like I did Grandmother Willow proud. I didn't add water around the base because I'm just taking parts of the castle, not the whole thing, but I might add it in if that ginormous slab of cobblestone starts to drive me crazy. For Tiana, I almost used her restaurant as the base for the castle instead of Mulan's palace, but I thought Mulan's larger front, like horizontal base, would be a better shape. There are a lot of delicate details on this, But to avoid it looking too big to be put on top of the other buildings, I want to keep the scale pretty small. Tiana's palace has a lot of delicate details, and Minecraft isn't really known for that. But a few things I did was put orange glass behind the windows to represent the sheer curtains you can see in the picture. I'm not sure that came across, but I was pretty excited about it and happy with my idea, so I left it in. I also used warp trapdoors for the shutters on the windows because I've used that color elsewhere. I absolutely loved working on the balcony. In the movie, it has these beautiful swirl designs, so I tried to mimic them with stairs, and I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. Next, the top of Tiana's palace, which we are doing as part of Rapunzel's castle. This was another castle where I went back and forth on which element to use. There were lots of them that I thought would work. I would have loved to have done the front balcony where they launched the lanterns, but with Grandmother Willow and Arendelle, there was plenty happening. So instead we're going with this decorated top that has the sun on it. This is front and center in the castle, and it'll fit perfectly on top of Tiana's restaurant. Again, using the quartz for the trim, and the sandstone ties it into the other builds really well. Next, Jasmine's palace, and we're almost done. We're getting so close. For this, we've got to do a tower. I mean, the castle is mostly towers. I was nervous about getting the top onion-ish dome right. I was feeling really good about it at first, but then as I filled it in, moving on. We got creative trying to mimic the little designs on the red part, and then we were done. For Merida's castle, we are going to take the giant central tower that's in their castle complex. Now, if we just used one color to build the tower, it would be really painful to look at. But luckily, I believe the castle has enough detail in the stone when you're looking at it in the movie that we can kind of expand it out to a couple different blocks. You can also see the dark stripes running down the walls in the movie, I don't know, from weathering or dumping things over the edge, so we'll definitely be using that as part of our texturing. Throughout this part of the build, you'll see me changing the stone I used a lot, but I did eventually get where I wanted to be. I just had problems with textures, and one block was too light, and then something over here didn't work out, and it was a long process, but we got there eventually. And I did, at the end, raise the tower a few blocks higher so that it balanced with the rest of the castle complex better. And I thought that was pretty good. Okay, so we did Anna, and now it's time for Elsa. If you remember, in my drawing from the beginning, the original plan was to have a sort of twin tower with Brave and Frozen. But the more and more I looked at Elsa's castle, the more panicked I got. Honestly, it was making me nervous. So I thought if we took her cold doesn't bother me anyway balcony and one of the little icy tower offshoot things, we could fuse that with Merida's tower. So Merida's tower wasn't such an empty cylinder, and I didn't have to try to figure out how to make Elsa's gorgeous ice castle in Minecraft, because I just didn't know if I could do it justice. I am really happy with how it turned out. I kind of went outside my comfort zone using a lot of different blocks, and I think it looks pretty. I used the reference photo during the Let It Go song where the castle has lots of blues and purples in it, which is why we have the purple blocks. Now I went back to do the Archie swirl patterns from Ariel's underwater castle, though I had almost forgotten about. This went really fast, though I do think it might have looked nice on the other side color-wise, but I thought the spacing worked better on the Beauty and the Beast side, so that's where we put it. Alright, our last princess, Moana. I have been excited about Moana's part since the beginning. I was originally going to use her island as the base for the castle, but I decided to use the sail from her boat instead. In the movie, she leaves the island and sort of finds herself on the boat, so I thought it would be a better choice. I thought rather than just stick a boat somewhere, we could use the sails as flags and put them on the different towers that we had, which really ties everything together. Woo! And that finishes it off. Princess headquarters for each official Disney princess and Anna and Elsa. This came together so much better than I thought it would. I thought it was going to be uncoordinated and a mess, but I think by repeating a few colors like the quartz and warped wood and reds, we helped things tie together pretty well. And if I do say so myself, I think the castle balances out decently. It's really fun and it feels kind of magical. If you enjoyed this video, I have some other fun build challenges on my channel that you can check out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had as much fun as I did, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!